I've decided that it's time to actually leave the family business and try something new. And that's what I wanted to talk about on the podcast today. How do you do that?
Welcome to Your Second Act, the podcast that proves that life doesn't have to end at 40, 50, or even 60, because when it comes to living your best life, age is just a number.
Hi, gorgeous. Welcome back to Your Second Act. I've been thinking a lot lately. I've been thinking about a lot of things lately. As you know, I've been going through a lot of change, and that got me thinking creatively and really questioning what it is that I want to do. Now, this podcast is super important to me, and I guess it's been a bit of a hobby, but now it's turning into something more. But I've also made some changes on the work front. Now, for the past 12 years, I have worked with my husband in his business. And it has been fantastic because it's great when you work in the family business. You can choose your hours, there's flexibility. And when my girls were younger, it just worked in so well. It gave me a sense of purpose. I was helping him, the business. And then slowly, in the last couple of years, I think because of this podcast, I've just started to realize that it's no longer aligning with what it is that I want to do. But then when you feel really stuck, and that's how I was feeling, that you feel like you need to stay because it's the family business, but at the same time, you're not really putting your heart and full effort into the role, which can cause also a bit of frustration on both ends. So I think because we are moving from our home to a new home and life's changing, I've decided that it's time to actually leave the family business and try something new. And that's what I wanted to talk about on the podcast today. How do you do that? How do you decide to leave something that you've done for such a long time and the security of your income, the security of what you're doing, you like the people possibly that you work with, and it's just easy. You just kind of do it. But then you hit a wall and you think, this just doesn't work for me anymore. I want to feel more excited about what I do. And I think this is where midlife is great because you now start to get the idea of, I'm having a little bit more time on my own. Maybe you've got kids who don't need you as much. Gives you space to think about new things, to maybe try new things. So what I'm actually looking at is I have never, and please don't laugh, I have never worked in retail. And at school, I never did that. Even through my 20s, I just kind of went from school to working to then getting on with my life. So I never had that part-time job. And my girls have always said, Mum, it's not fair. You want us to have part-time jobs, but you never had one. And it's true. But do you know what? I realize how important it is to have a part-time job. But anyway, that's not what this is about. So I, for a long time, have thought, I wonder what it would be like to work in retail. Most people will tell me, don't do it because people are crap and you are made to do all these things and put up with a lot of rubbish. But then when I walk into the stores, I think I'm actually a nice customer. So I think, well, surely not everyone is horrible. And I guess I like to work in creative environments. So by wanting to move away from the role that I've been doing for the last 12 years, I just really want to flip it on its side and do something completely different. I'm done working in a corporate environment. I don't enjoy it. I've done it for all my working life. It doesn't excite me. I find it soulless. Yes, it's probably the more practical thing for me to do because it's what I do and it's how I can earn more money. But I actually feel like I want to give myself that little break to find out if I enjoy doing something different. And it is scary because, especially when you haven't done anything like that before, So I actually applied for a job in a chain of, I guess you would call it, I guess it's like a gift shop, but it sells clothes, a bit of homewares, accessories, and so forth, and very much targeted to midlife women. So I thought this is perfect. It was just a casual role, few days a week. I could work it in with the podcast and with everything else that's happening. I thought, yeah, I really want to do it. I told my husband, he said, yeah, just go for it. Why not? So I sat down and also put together my CV, which that in itself hasn't been done in over 20 years. So just by putting down what I have done in the 30 years of working really made me feel quite proud of myself. It's like, wow, Michelle, you actually have done a lot of different things. You forget the stuff that you do. Trust me, sometimes if you haven't updated your CV or you haven't done one, do it because it's a really good way to look at your timeline and what you've done in the past. And you'll be surprised at how much you actually have achieved. So, that in itself was a great exercise. So, I would recommend that you do that. Update your CV or actually just write down what you've been doing in the last few years. And even if you haven't been working, also look at what you have done to contribute to maybe your community, your kids' school fundraising events, and you'll find that you've had all these little skills that you've been acquiring along the way without even realizing and not even giving it any type of relevance or importance. But you realize when you write it all down that actually it has helped you because we just get so set in our ways doing certain things. But then when you do something different, and you might not realize that it is something different, that you think, oh, okay, well, yeah, I helped with a fundraiser. I helped at the school. It can be anything. You volunteered. I did a lot of volunteering as well in the last few years. I met amazing people and just really opened my eyes to different organizations and the need that people have out there. So just all those little things, write them down because that honestly can give you a great starting point and also shows that you've been doing things over a few years. Even if you had a full-time job or part-time job, if you've done other things, write down what your skill set is and you will realize that it's just more than your job because you've had a lot of life experience and you've gained a lot of tools. So please remember that. Anyway, what I was saying is that I put together my CV. It took me about a week. I ummed and ahed about it and I thought, no, just sit down and I did it. And there's some great templates that you can use on Canva as well. I found that really helpful just to set it out. And I put it all together. I got online and I just started looking for retail jobs. This one popped up and I thought, yep, it actually feels like something, sounds like something that I'd like to do. So I applied for it, and that in itself was a bit, I don't know, I felt a bit nervous. And I thought, they're never going to call me back. See that negative thought in your head? Why would they even want to look at my CV? Anyway, about a week later, I get a phone call. The area manager said, would you like to come into the store? Can we have a chat? And she started interviewing me on the phone saying, what or why do you think you want to work in retail? Why do you think you'd be a good fit? And so she really threw me in the deep end because obviously I wasn't expecting the call. Anyway, I think I answered the question okay. And she said, well, why don't you come in and have a chat? So I did, and it was a very informal interview. Again, I come from a corporate background where it is completely different. You're in usually in boardrooms, meeting rooms, and you're with HR and so forth. So this was just we did at a park bench, and it was just a very casual chat. And she said, so you haven't had experience in retail? And I said, no. But then I talked about what I've been doing in the last couple of years, how I've got a podcast, how I speak to midlife women, and that is their market, and how I feel I can connect with midlife women. I'm one. I also like their product. I've shopped in their store. I have an understanding of their product. And I think at the end of the day, let's face it, it's about being friendly and communicative. And I'm very good at both of those. So I realized in that interview, I just came as myself. I remember years ago, I would try and put on a front and portray myself in a certain light so they'd be impressed. But I actually walked in and I felt super in control and really confident. It was like I walked in and it was like, this is who I am. This is what I can bring to the job. She asked me those situational questions like, what happens if someone comes into the store? How do you approach them? So I said, well, of course, I would greet them and I would ask them, as they always do, is there anything can I help you with anything? But then what I said, and this is why I think, by the way, I didn't get the job. I'm wondering, and I would love your feedback. What I actually said was, I don't believe in being pushy. As a customer, a consumer, there is nothing worse than walking into a shop and having someone at you. I feel uncomfortable. I want the freedom to search by myself. And if I do require the help, then I'll ask for it. So I said to her, I'm not a pushy person. I read the room. If I see that customer is maybe loitering around a certain part of the shop, then I would go and approach them because I'd think, well, maybe they're actually looking at something that they like and they possibly want to buy it or they want to ask a question. So I did say that, and I think that was a good answer. She didn't seem to look like it was the wrong answer, but I'm just wondering that maybe sales, they have quotas to fill. I don't know. Maybe that's why I didn't get it, or maybe they just found someone better, and that's okay. So it took a week for them to come back to me, and they left a message saying, we had a lot of applicants and thank you so much, blah, 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 but we won't be pursuing your application. Do you know, back in the day, that would have made me feel really, really deflated and insecure. And I just thought, you know what? That's cool. The fact that I actually just had the courage to apply, to put the CV together, and then to go in and have the interview, I felt really proud of myself because I'm putting myself out there. I'm taking the step to actually open a new door. Now, I don't know where that's going to lead me. I, to be honest, haven't sat down and started looking for any more jobs, but I thought, okay, I've done it. I'm now going to start researching other retail outlets that I feel I'd like to work for. So I think that's another thing. Research, have a look what's out there, see if it really fits with you. And I think that the main idea is if there's something that you like, yes, you might not have the experience in doing it, but don't let that stop you because you might get in via a skill that you already have. And I think until you put yourself in that position, you're never going to know because it's so easy to not. Remember that it's easy to not do something. It's easy to stay scared and stay in the background and then just do what it is that you've always done. So it's just a quick little episode to say, if there's something that has been nagging you because you're not happy in your current work situation, then maybe it's time to start looking. I'm not saying leave your job, but maybe have a look at what's out there. And if it means that you need to go and do a course to upskill, then do that. And through that, that might open a door. That might make you realize, yes, this is what I want to do, or no, it's not. But until you take that step, you're never going to know. So in midlife, it's about trying, throw your hat in the ring, see where it lands. I'm doing it. I'm going to see if I'm going to be working retail. You might see me in the shop near you. You never know. If you do, come and say hello. I still haven't landed that role, but I just want to see if it's something that I like to do. It might be, it might not, but at least I've tried. And at least at the end of the day, I can say, well, I gave it a go. And that's all you really have to do.
Thanks for tuning into another episode of Your Second Act. If you enjoyed this episode, I'd love it if you could rate and leave a review on your favorite podcast platform. Your feedback means the world to me.